tell me a little bit about yourself. What's very important for our listeners to know?
I think when I think about what I would want to know if I was listening to someone, it's like what qualifies you to be here. And so
Yeah.
I'm a TEDx storyteller. I've done two TEDx talks, so I love public speaking. I'm an international keynote speaker. I've
Hmm.
published three books. One of them, which is a bestseller on Amazon. Another one that I think will help coaches with their complete transformation of their coaching business. And
Hmm.
I would say the other thing is that I've had the opportunity to work with over 10,000 coaches building their coaching businesses. I think those are the things that are most qualified for me to be here with you today.
Absolutely, and thank you for mentioning that, Bill. And I'm really curious to hear from you your journey of transformation. So, tell me a little bit about the start and what got you into transforming self, and then we'll take the conversation forward from there.
I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12 years old. I had
Hmm.
five different businesses as a 12-year-old, whether that was the paper route or the lawn care business I had with one friend, or a different lawn care business with another friend, to going door to door sales, all of those things. So building and growing businesses has been in my blood for a very young age. And I
Hmm.
promised myself when I was 12 years old that when I had over $1 million in the bank, when I was the CEO of a major organization, that when I was married and had kids, that all these things I would be really happy. Like this would be what the essence of my happiness was, because I bought
Hmm.
into the idea that that's happiness was based on accomplishments and achievements. And
Hmm.
so I did all that, and in 2014, I was the
Hmm.
second year on the Inc. 5000 list of the fastest growing companies in the United States. And on paper, everything that I promised myself was in line. I had more than $1 million in the bank. I had two beautiful children, a wife that we created this beautiful life together. I'd already done, one of my, international keynote speaking. I've been going all over the world, doing keynote speeches. So all of these things on paper said I should be really happy, but I was so miserable. I was ready to take my own life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, it was one of those things that when my father got to a place where he was ready to end his life, he went into his therapist and he said, I need advice today. If I can't find a reason to live, I'm gonna walk out this session and I'm gonna end my life. And the therapist
Hmm.
said, the most brilliant thing that I think you could say as a therapist hearing that is, don't be such a selfish prick. He said, "Wait,
Hmm.
what do you mean?"
Okay.
Because,
Uh,
because when you kill yourself, your family blames themselves. And the thing about it
hmm.
is that if you really are ready to end your life for real, then get on an
Hmm.
airplane and go start another life somewhere else. That way, you
Hmm.
can be blamed for walking out on your
Hmm.
family. That's the thing that would basically allow others to move on with their lives. And so
Hmm.
ultimately, if you decide to change your mind, you can come back and ask for forgiveness. But once you take your own life, there's no coming back. I thought that was great
Hmm.
advice.
Hmm.
And so that came up
Yeah.
for me at that exact moment. And that's when I decided to begin my journey of transformation, because I realized, well, if I was ready to throw my life away, I might as well lean
Hmm.
in to all this transformational stuff I've been hearing about and been putting off.
Hmm. Hmm. So tell me the beginning of the journey then.
Well, I think I had heard of Tony Robbins and his Unleash the Power Within. That was my first real, putting my little toe in the water. I really did experience like how powerful transformation could be even in a weekend. 4 days
Hmm.
of Robbins, and I can feel my body shifting and I can feel my mind shifting. And I got onto a sort of a huge kick, and I did every program that Tony Robbins offered, with the life and wealth mastery and all the things, and I loved it, and it was great. Business mastery, all the things that he offered. But what I found was is that I was just chasing a transformational high. Every program went to another program, went to another program, and I wasn't realizing, like, what I realized was it wasn't sustaining. It was just, what's the answer to transformation? Go do another weekend, go do another
Hmm.
week, keep. And I wanted to integrate my work in transformation into
Hmm.
my day-to-day life. And so, as much as I loved all the work I did with Tony Robbins, what I was finding was is that there was still a gap. There was still something
Hmm.
missing for me. And so I began looking at, well, what was that gap? And what was the thing? Like, I have all these tools now. How come I'm not integrating these tools into my day in and day out life? And so
Hmm.
that moved me into Brendan Burchard, his high performance program, and started looking at what are the daily habits that I need to
Hmm.
shift in my life in order to be more successful. And so
Right.
that became a whole different focus rather than going off and doing a weekend retreat and having this great transformational experience and coming back the next day. It was like,
Hmm.
okay, how do I want to wake up every morning? What are, what's the meditation that I want to do? What's the exercise routine that I want to have? And so I
Hmm.
started to design my life so that every
Hmm.
single day I could improve just a little bit, that 1% improvement every single day. And that really started to gel. And then, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, so from a macro level philosophical work to really tangible action oriented move and shift that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please
And,
carry
and
on. Yeah.
and I think what was the last piece of this was, even if I had those daily habits, I was
Hmm.
noticing that my own brain was still challenging me and telling me that it wasn't enough, that I had to do more. It started to feel like a transformational treadmill that was very familiar to the business treadmill that I'd put myself on previously. And so
Hmm.
that's when I decided I wanted to look for something else. So
Hmm.
I began doing my own work in coaching. I started going in for my coaching certification so I could understand some of the things that were going on inside myself of what led other clients. And that led me back to the very first coach that I'd ever met, which was a man by the name of Shirzad Shamin. Now, he wrote the New York Times bestselling book, Positive Intelligence. And
Yeah.
what ended up happening next was me starting a 6-year journey of bringing mental fitness, not just to myself and my clients, but actually to over 100,000 coaches in the world.
Hmm.
And that's been like one of the most incredible experiences of my last 6 years, really being able to have that kind of impact, not just for myself, but for so
Hmm.
many other coaches, and that ripple effect that comes from that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. So tell me more about positive intelligence. You've been working on it for 6 years, you said, right?
Yeah, yeah. So for
Hmm.
positive intelligence, this is foundations of mental fitness training. And so mental
Okay.
fitness training is understanding that your mind can be your best friend, but it could also be your worst enemy. How do I actually train my mind to be mentally fit and
Hmm.
understand all the negative self-talk and where it comes from and how to get rid of it? And so the
Hmm.
idea was, in 5 minutes, I could go on and do an assessment, and this is totally free on positiveintelligence.com. People can find out what your top negative saboteurs are that are stopping
Hmm.
you from living your best life. Once I actually saw that, for me, it was immediately apparent. It's like, oh, I do. I know my hyperachiever. That
Hmm.
hyperachiever has been with me since I was 12 years old. I know my
Hmm.
control. It's devastated my relationships, right? So I could
Hmm.
see immediately that this framework that had been put together was a really simple way of seeing the negative aspects of my mind and how I could actually reduce the negative impact of my saboteurs and lean into each of my 5 sage powers. Because of
Hmm.
that, I started to really become and experience my own mental fitness and started to build a life of serenity, peace, calm, happiness, and joy. And
Hmm.
that's what I've
Hmm.
experienced over the last 6 years and at the deepest levels.
Wow. And so tell me more about the details in terms of what did you really do. So one is of course the mental fitness, but what else?
Yeah. Well, so the mental fitness aspect of the training allowed me to be able to be much more present. And so the
Hmm.
first thing I started to see was is that, you know, previously before I started any mental fitness training, you and I would be having this conversation, but instead of me being present with you, I would be in the back of my mind, how am I doing? Right? How's the interview going? Am I doing
Yeah.
okay? Am I
Yeah.
blowing it? Maybe I'm blowing it. Oh my God, I
Hmm.
didn't say it exactly the way I was supposed to say it, right? So for all those reasons, I would not be present with you, and my mind would be in two places. It would be trying to answer your question while also trying to think what is the right answer of what I should say for your audience, and what is your audience doing right now, and what happens if I
Hmm.
actually screw up and put my foot in my mouth or say something that I don't mean. That's exhausting because now because of mental fitness, I can be present with you and really be fully here. And you ask me anything you want to take is totally fine. I feel very, very good and calm about it. Where before I would be like, oh God, I hope he doesn't ask. Or what if he says this? That's a whole part of this where that fear, that anxiety, all of those pieces are stopping me from being fully present with you. Make sense?
Yeah, it does, and so from there, so being more present and being more conscious, I think, and no negative saboteur. They are fully focused.
Yeah.
Is who. So what next? I mean, what is the end of the transformation? So that's the
Ah,
beginning. Where have you
yes.
ended? Yeah.
So from there, what I've really leaned into is a deep practice of daily meditation that helps me to to strengthen this work and to move from a place of meditation to compassion. And so, like
Hmm.
I have developed for myself unconditional inner peace, where I not be impacted by my circumstances, no matter what's happening in my life. I can be fully present and I can be at peace. And I'll give you the most
Hmm.
extreme example. About a month ago, my daughter attempted suicide. And in that moment, if I hadn't done this work and I hadn't done this training, it would have been just detrimental because I would have lost my focus. I would have lost everything because of all of this sort of downward spiral. Like, oh my God, as a parent,
Hmm.
I've totally failed my child. Oh my God, now what? My whole life is in disarray and ruins. All of these
Hmm.
things that had I not done this work, I would not have been able to accept what is and
Hmm.
understand that in moment exactly what needs to be happening is happening and trust
Hmm.
that life is happening for me, not to me, and knowing that my
Hmm.
daughter is now going to get the help that she's always needed. And this was a
Hmm.
cry for help, that she didn't actually commit suicide. She attempted, it was not successful, and now she has done the cry for help that's necessary for her to get exactly the help she needs. I use that
Hmm.
as an example because it's like I'm thinking of what are the most extreme examples of how life shows up in different ways, and how do we
Right.
have unconditional inner peace regardless of circumstance, and thinking about that place, and then going into the depth of compassion, having
Hmm.
compassion for my daughter, having a compassion for my wife, having compassion for all the people around me who are affected by what's happening in the world today.
Hmm. Hmm. And you said it's coming from the unconditional, the decision that you made about unconditional inner peace.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Mhm.
specifically the practice. The unconditional inner peace comes from the daily habits. The
Hmm.
unconditional inner peace comes from the
Hmm.
work that I'm willing to do every single day to actually grow and increase my serenity. To understand, I mean, even the serenity prayer, a very simple prayer that helps me anchor, is this something for
Hmm.
me to accept or convert or learn from the wisdom of getting it wrong? That continuous work helps me really anchor myself in what I'm supposed to do every moment of every day. And that, like, whatever happens outside of my control, which most is completely outside of my control, then I can actually use it as a way to both first accept what is, love what is, and then be able to change my part in it. How do I better because of these experiences as opposed to shying away from them?
Hmm. So I think what I'm now really interested to hear is that how one develops that ability to recognize what's out of control and let's not get impacted.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll start with the thing that was most unlocking for me. The
Hmm.
actual the Serenity Prayer. If people are not familiar with it, I'll just say it because it's only 26 words, but yet it's so powerful when you hear them. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Hmm.
Now, I can say those words, and they're just words, or I
Hmm.
can choose to live my life with the wisdom that is within that foundation. So,
Hmm.
granting me the serenity, the first thing is I genuinely want serenity. I want unconditional inner peace. That's the first step. I want it. Now,
Hmm.
in order to get my unconditional inner peace, I first have to understand all the things, to accept all the things that are outside of my control. I can't
Hmm.
control the weather. I can't control whether a client hires me or doesn't hire me. I can't control how this podcast is going to be perceived. I control what your audience decides to do with the information I provide, right? So, all of these things I must accept and love. And
Hmm.
then the courage to change the things I can, the courage to change me. How do I become better? How do I actually get up earlier in the morning so I can do deeper meditation practices? How do I make sure that every day I'm actually improving my health by making choices around my exercise routines and what I'm putting in my mouth from a food and nutrition perspective? Like, those daily choices are within my control. How I choose to react, what happens in the world is in my control, right? So the courage to change the things I can, and practice is the wisdom to know the difference. I'm going to get it wrong. I'm going to try to change things that I can't, right? I'm going to try to change things that are not up to me, and I'm going to get it wrong. can I learn from that wisdom and become
Right.
better because I made the wrong choice? Learn from the wrong choice, become better because of the wrong choice, and have that inner peace.
So it's like I say, learning from your learnings. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly right.
And so tell me, what do you think is wrong when people do not build that acceptance of what it is? It is not
Yeah,
with my control. What's
yeah.
wrong there in that thinking?
What resists persists.
Hmm.
So the idea here is it's not that it's wrong; it's that it's
Hmm.
painful.
Hmm.
So there's a saying of let go or get dragged. If I'm
Hmm.
attached to something, and I'm holding on to it, I'm going to get dragged in by it. Right? My perceptions, my belief systems, the things that are no longer serving me, as I hold on to those limiting beliefs, I'm going to be dragged by them. When I
Hmm.
let go, I can accept what is, and then I can actually learn to love what is. But the first idea of acceptance is understanding that there's so many things outside of my control. The analogy I
Hmm.
use is whitewater rafting. I love whitewater rafting, but the idea is once you're in the whitewater, you have to let go. You have to literally
Hmm.
surrender to the whitewater and allow the whitewater to take you where it's meant to go. And so much of life is like whitewater, right? When my daughter attempted suicide, there's nothing else I can do. At this point, I'm in for the ride. And if I
Hmm.
try to resist that, I'm going to flip my boat over. I'm going to make things worse. And suddenly I'm going to have a really negative experience. So the harder that I hold on to my old beliefs, or the harder
Hmm.
I try to believe in the illusion of control, the more
Hmm.
exhausting it's going to be. And what resists persists. And the longer I hold
Hmm.
on to it, it's going to be. But as soon
Hmm.
as I let go and I surrender and I'm like, okay, now I'm in it. Now I can
Hmm.
actually enjoy the process. I can enjoy
Hmm.
even something that would be considered terrible. And I can see, okay, this is what life happening on life's terms, and I can accept
Hmm.
it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
So letting go is a skill, yeah,
Yes.
or
It-
is a way of being.
yes. Completely.
And building that way of thinking is not easy, right? I mean, it for some people it can take ages.
Yes. Some people never get there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is the thing is that the question is, am I willing to do the work? So not necessarily easy. It is something that it's if I start to build my muscle strength, I will strengthen myself over time. I think what people see is like you go into the gym, your first day in the gym, a physical, you try to lift 200 pounds. You can't do
Hmm.
it. You're not used to being able to lift that heavy weight. And
Hmm.
that's what happening when you're not prepared. Life's going to throw you a 200-pound dumbbell. And if you've not been practicing in the gym, you cannot handle it. You just can't.
Hmm.
But if I go to the gym every day and I start with 5 pounds, and that
Hmm.
5 pounds leads to 10 to 20 to 30 to 50 to 100, suddenly I can handle all of the weight that gets up to the place of what I've been practicing. And
Hmm.
so what I'm doing today is I'm lifting 150 pounds. I'm still being thrown by 200 pounds, but I can handle 150-pound problems that I didn't used to be able to handle. Make sense?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Building that muscle over a period of time with a lot of practice.
Exactly right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I want to shift our conversation towards now business. Yeah.
Yes,
Uh,
please.
uh, so tell me, from your experience, how did you build, by the way, $1 million businesses? What's
Yeah.
the way for you? Yeah.
I've done it both the right way and the wrong way. Let me share
Uh,
both.
yeah.
My first business I built with to $25 million in annual revenue, and I did it through my hyperachiever and my controller. What
Hmm.
that meant is that I kept moving my own goalposts, and so
Hmm.
and nothing was ever enough. I constantly changed. Whatever success was short lived and fleeting, and I was always on what's next. My controller railroaded anyone that got in my way. If you weren't with
Hmm.
me, you were against me. I would destroy you if you stood in my way. And I
Hmm.
meant that as a place of, hey, I'm actually helping you out, right? So my sick brain was telling me that by actually railroading you, I was teaching you a valuable lesson and that you should appreciate me, right? Like that's
Hmm.
exactly the wrong way to build a $25 million business. Yes?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So I was successful in spite of myself. I was successful in spite of my lack of leadership, my lack of empathy, my lack of innovation and partnership with the people that I was working with. And I did that the second time. My second multi-million dollar business, I said, well, the problem there was that I was just trying to be too big too fast. And so I built a $5 million annual revenue business that was even more profitable than my $25 million business. And I had fewer people and I had fewer headaches. And I still used my hyperachiever and controller to do it. And I alienated a lot of people. I damaged a lot of relationships. But this time I was paying attention. This time I was actually seeing the devastating impact I was creating. This time I wasn't so sure that the way that I was doing it was the right way. And ultimately, it began my willingness to see that there was a different way that I could do with love and compassion. And I could have the same results or better with that same love and compassion. And so when I met Shirzad Shamin and began building positive intelligence, we also grew this to $10 million in annual revenue. But it was with absolute love and empathy and the kind of culture people dream about. This idea of triple purpose that like I'm going to be working on my own self-actualization, and that's purpose number one. Purpose number two is all of my team members around me are also working on their self-actualization, and I should be encouraging them to do that. And then purpose number three is the company itself will self-actualize as being the best version of the company it can be if all others are doing the same. So if I'm self-actualizing, my team is self-actualizing, then in the process of doing that, the company itself will be the best possible company it can be. Now that culture takes work. That culture sounds like, hey, Harris, I see that you seem like you are maybe not in your best state of mind right now. Can we do some PQ reps? Can I have us do some breath work right now in this moment? And the reason I'm doing that is I'm allowing us to acknowledge that, hey, if either one of us is hijacked, and maybe it's me, maybe I'm the one that's having the problem. If you give me the space to actually really come back to my best version of myself, then we will both have a much better conversation than if one of
Right.
us is hijacked and one of us is actually trying to railroad the other. That's never going to be effective. But only if I have the courage to take a time out and actually figure out how to become myself more centered and be the best version of myself, then I can create a sage contagion where we both are working together at the best, highest self.
So that's about really becoming mentally fitter when you're
Yes.
working in the organization and making the organization fitter for its
Yes.
purpose, right?
Correct.
So what was a shift in you? So of course the first two experiences very materialistic, goals were the only priority, and then your mindset shifted to focusing on the being. Yeah.
Yes.
What
Yep.
difference do you find focusing on the being in the organization?
So for the first part of my life, I had it backwards. It was have, do, be. My expectation was when I have $1 million in the bank and I have all of this great success in my company and I have my wife and I have my kids, then I will do the things I need to do to be successful and then I will be successful. Right. So that was the backwards nature by which really disrupted how I was. I flipped it around. The shift was be, do, have. When I focus on cultivating the beingness, who I choose to be in the world, I will naturally and organically do the right thing in the moment. And that outcome will be having exactly what I'm meant to have in this world and in this time in my life. And the you have has been such a powerful shift because in every moment, in this moment right now, as I'm speaking to you, I can check in and say, am I being the most authentic version of myself right now? Or am I performing? Am I performing for your audience? Am I performing for you? Am I trying to look good? Am I trying to sound good? Am I trying to just say the right thing? That's inauthentic. But
Yeah.
the moment
Yeah.
I can acknowledge my inauthenticity, I become authentic.
Yeah.
And that authenticity allows me to focus on my being. And so throughout this entire time we've been speaking, that's my check in. Am I being the most authentic version of myself? Am I being the most valuable thing that I can be for you and your audience specifically because I'm showing up in my deepest authenticity?
So it's really about being authentic in anything that you do, so that you can get where you want to and feel more aligned uh,
Yes.
Yeah. Mm,
Yeah, and that alignment comes from also attracting other people who are equally authentic, who have
mm,
similar visions and goals, and you can
mm,
see immediately who they're being in the world. You know,
mm,
when I was really focusing in on my salesmanship, I thought I
mm,
had to be someone I was not. Like, hey, how you doing? Check, check, check. You know, finger
mm,
popping and like, I'm the slick salesperson, whatever. It was so inauthentic, and it was so easy to see, God, I have to deal with this guy just to get what I want. So it was the
mm,
opposite of what I was trying to create. And so the
mm,
minute I was able to like be authentic, I could be curious, is this
mm,
the right opportunity for this person? And half the time it wasn't. So I would be
mm,
honest. And
yeah.
I would tell them, I don't think this is a good fit for you for these
Mm,
reasons. Oh my God, talk about building trust. Talk
mm,
about how authenticity grows revenue. Like just the act of and the willingness to say, no, this is
mm,
not the right fit for you for these reasons. And being
mm,
completely honest about that meant that I
mm,
was the first call that most people made because they knew I would tell them the truth. If I had something that would support them, then great. I would tell them why I thought it would support them. And if I didn't, I was equally honest that we were not the right fit. And here's how I would help them get to where they need to go. That
mm,
builds trust and that builds long term viability for any business.
mm, mm. And what holds an organization back from building the culture of trust and authenticity?
Yeah, it's two things. It's inauthenticity of
Mm,
voice. So if I'm not allowing myself to speak my truth and I'm holding
mm,
myself back, then I'm also modeling the second thing, which is I'm not encouraging other people to find their voice and share it.
mm,
And so that idea here from a leadership perspective is it starts with me to actually own my weaknesses, to be honest
mm,
about things that I'm struggling with, to be able to
mm,
look my team in the eye and say, here's where I am going to fail you. Here are the
mm,
places where I'm not good. And I need
mm,
your support in these areas, or we as an organization will not be successful. That takes
mm,
courage.
mm,
But
mm,
it also gives people the understanding that I am a human being. I'm not trying to be something I'm not. I am absolutely flawed. And in that
mm.
ability to own my flaws, it also encourages people to do the same and be honest about themselves. Here's where I am
Right.
in my here are the things I
Mm,
can contribute, and here are the things that I'm actually going to make disastrous if you have me hold on to them. Right? So don't
mm.
ask me to do these things because I'm going to be terrible at them.
Yeah.
That authenticity builds a culture of trust. That
Mm,
builds a culture of really being willing to have the hard conversations and then create the kind of culture that is beginning from a place of trust and inspiration. And that
mm.
inspiration means we all can be accountable to each other and ultimately accomplish the outcomes we all want to accomplish
Right.
without pretending that we are something we're not.
Hmm. 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 And I also believe that it takes a lot of courage for the leaders to create that kind of a culture because it's most of the time top down approach, not a bottom top approach.
Correct.
Yeah. And leadership and vulnerability is they don't exist together.
Yeah.
For
You're right, and I find that sometimes when I was doing consulting,
mm,
CEOs would bring me in and say, "We have a problem with innovation in our company," and I'd say, "No,
mm,
you don't. You have a problem with how you handle failure in your company." They're like, "What
hmm,
do you mean?" I said,
hmm,
"Talk to me about the last big failure your company has experienced." And
hmm,
well, we don't make mistakes. And I said, great, that's why you're not innovative, right? You're
hmm,
not actually allowing your team to make mistakes and then own those mistakes, allowing failure as part of your culture. And so you are not creating a place where people can do their best and fail and that be
hmm,
okay. Then there's never going to be innovation in your company. Never. Because only those who are willing to fail are going to find the path forward. They'll fail into their success. But if it
right.
is an organization it's not okay to fail, then that means it's not okay to try something outside your comfort zone, which means we're never going to grow.
Hmm, hmm. And that's really coming back to what we spoke about learning to learn. I
Yes.
mean, that also reveals that learning is not an option here.
Correct.
Because,
That's right.
yeah, yeah. So I'm also interested to talk about the. So here are the times now we have very AI driven and a lot of automations in the world. How do you see companies growing and the growth in this time? Talk to me a little bit about growth of the companies. Now is the time. Yeah.
I
Yes.
So one of the things that I did was
Mm-hmm.
I started to see that there's so much power as well as risk associated with artificial intelligence. The
Mm-hmm.
power of AI is that you have access to unprecedented amount of information and insights. It's incredibly overwhelming to see just how much knowledge exists in artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not in awe of AI,
Mm-hmm.
it means you're not paying attention because
Mm-hmm.
you're not seeing how incredible AI is across the entire universe. It's
Mm-hmm.
incredible. And the part where it becomes really interesting is where is the humanity in it? And so, to me, the part that the balance that we must get right in artificial intelligence is balancing the human elements with the unbelievable power, the superpower of folks
Mm-hmm.
associated with the technology and the information. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. When I wanted to do my first initiative in artificial intelligence, my biggest concern was that by tapping into things like ChatGPT and Claude and everybody else, there is a sameness that occurs across all the same information. So what I
Mm-hmm.
did was I used my book, Sage Business Development, focusing on helping coaches build their businesses, and I used that plus all of the rest of my information that I had been building over the last 30 years of all of the how to build and exit a successful business. And I put that as the platform and the technology behind what is the AI. And the reason why I did that for it's called AskBill.us. What the reason that I put that together was so that all of the information would sound like me. And if you and I were having a live conversation, the output of the AI would be in alignment with my voice and my feedback and my insights, as opposed to the internet, the whole internet. This is where I think things are important as organizations think about AI is what is their special sauce? What is it that they can offer you and to their organization? And that content is the part that they can have and served up to their clients in ways that are very powerful using artificial intelligence. Then the balance is okay, this is going to help with our organization to be real responsive to the needs of our audience. Now the question is, where's the human elements? What are the things that AI cannot do yet? From that perspective, how do we use people and human technology as a way to supplement artificial intelligence? That's where I
Right.
think people will really get it right.
Right. Right. That's a wonderful perspective. I think. How do we leverage people
Yeah.
in it? Right. Um, so, with immense experience that you have and the kind of work you've done in the industry, tell me, if you were to tell people one thing that you would like them to remember, what would that be?
One thing that I would like them to remember.
I
Yeah.
can, I can give, I can narrow the context if you want, but go
Oh,
ahead.
no, actually, it's fine. Um, I think there's only one rule, like really, and that is be love. And if we really understand the context of what it means to be love, then it helps us in every moment of every day decide what would love have me do. That helps me as my guiding principle. When I ask the question, what would love have me do in this moment? What becomes so clear is the right path that I'm on. Because the opposite of what would love have me do is what is fear asking me to avoid, right? So when I am coming in with my courage, I can feel the fear and do it anyway because that's what love would have me do. I can speak with a shaky voice. I can acknowledge the pain that I experience. There's so many things that love would have me do that is uncomfortable. And yet, what fear would have me do is nothing, to avoid or to go into my scarcity or to draw back and not be of service to other people. So if I can remember one thing, be love, and from that become the best servant leader you can be. Because to me, joy and happiness comes from being a powerful servant leader, guided by love.
Guided by love. That's a good closure there. Yeah. So, and how do you define purpose? The purpose of life. What
Yeah.
matters? What's the purpose of a person?
So you're giving me all these softball questions today. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I joke about it because people can spend their entire lives trying to find their purpose. But I
Right.
think one of the things that we talked about earlier about authenticity is
Mm-hmm.
leaning into understanding
Mm-hmm.
everything that has brought me to this moment. See,
Mm.
for me, purpose comes from within. Most
Mm.
people, where I think they struggle with purpose, is they're looking outside for the answers when they're not listening to their inner wisdom. And so, if
Mm.
I want to support someone to become and connect with their purpose, I would have them experience silence.
Mm.
Meditation to me is the deepest work where we can hear and listen to our purpose,
Mm.
especially when it's uncomfortable. When you
Mm.
are meditating and you're listening and you're asking for guidance, it's like, what is
Mm.
my purpose? And just asking that question and being silent and allowing the
Mm.
answer to be revealed. Often, what is
Mm.
revealed can be uncomfortable. For me,
Mm.
it was, I'm here to help every coach become financially free. But the
Mm.
first thing that felt like was no.
Mm.
That
Mm.
idea of, where's my ego was saying that's so risky. If I try to do that, I
Mm.
could fail utterly. And
Mm.
who am I to be able to do something like that? How can I be the one to make that kind of transformation in the world? I'm just not that good. I'm not that smart. I'm not that bright. And all the negativity shows up.
Mm. Mm.
If I'm listening to my true purpose, that is my
Mm.
calling. I am
Mm.
called to help every coach become financially free. And
Mm.
I will spend the rest of my life dedicated to that outcome. And I can
Mm.
feel it at a heart level, I can feel it at a gut level, and my brain is coming along for the ride.
Mm. Mm. True. True. Interesting. So, you mentioned also about financial freedom for coaches, right? You work with coaches on financial freedom. Talk to me a little bit about what's your framework, what do you
Yeah,
do,
for sure.
and how do you do?
Yeah, I love it. So
Mm.
first of all, I think the first thing that most coaches struggle with is the
Mm.
trivial many versus the essential few. So I
Mm.
always start there. A coach is being listening to the advice that's out there in the marketplace. They'll say you need to know 5,000 marketing automation systems. You need to be an expert in artificial intelligence. You need blah blah
Mm.
blah blah, and it's like overwhelming. It's
Yeah.
overwhelming.
Mm.
So I would argue that there's only four things that any coach needs to know. And if you focus on the essential few, you can let go of the trivial many. So
Yeah.
number one, who is your
Mm.
niche?
Mm.
Who do you choose to serve in the world? If you're
Mm.
not clear who you're meant to serve in the world, the rest of this
Mm.
doesn't matter. So we have to start with who. Then
Mm.
number two is your irresistible offer, your what. So the
Mm.
second most important thing is, once you know who you're meant to serve,
Mm.
what is your irresistible offer? What is the thing, the outcome that this person needs from you?
Mm. Mm.
Number three is generating appointments. How do I
Mm.
generate revenue? Because I know who my niche is and I know what my irresistible offer is. And I'll
Mm.
just take a quick sidebar here. There's only 5 ways to generate appointments. I
Mhm.
can do it through referrals. I can do it through
Mhm.
direct outreach. I can do it through networking. I can do
Mhm.
it through speaking, and I can do it through writing. That's
Mm.
it.
Mm.
So what's beautiful about that is it simplifies the
So
generating
you were
appointment.
breaking up for me. What's the fourth one? You said appointment, reference,
Right.
outreach,
Right.
and
So
then.
so so referrals, direct
Mhm.
outreach,
Mhm.
networking,
Mhm.
speaking engagements, and
Hmm.
writing assignments.
Hmm.
So if you are looking to generate appointments, you want to find which of those 5 domains are you naturally loving and being like something I love to do. Like right now,
Hmm.
we're doing speaking. If I
Yeah.
wanted to generate business or you wanted to generate business, we would use this as a call to action and say,
Right.
"Hey, visit me at or come do this." That's
Hmm.
speaking, right? It's a good
Hmm.
example. But
Hmm.
someone looks up and say, go into my LinkedIn profile, they're going to find that I did a bunch of writing, and those are
Hmm.
also ways to get on my calendar. Great.
Hmm.
If I actually have great clients, they'll refer me other great clients. If I
Hmm.
also see people I can help, I can do direct outreach. And if I'm going to the right networking events, there's great ways
Hmm.
to get appointments that way. So
Hmm.
that's number three. So we got your niche, your who,
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
irresistible offer, your what. We got
Hmm.
generating appointments, which is where do you find people? And then the
Hmm.
last thing is converting appointments. And the
Mhm.
idea there is this is really important about letting go of attachment.
Hmm.
I the, the converting appointments is when
Hmm.
somebody is ready to engage, they will say yes.
Hmm.
If you remember, the idea is it's not about us. So I make my offer. That is my effort. My
Hmm.
job is to make my offer to you.
Hmm.
And not committed to your outcome, meaning you can say yes or no, and either is fine with me. I
Hmm.
trust that you have the best decision for your own life. So I'm not going to try to convince you to hire me.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
That's important because I'm responsible for my effort. I am
Hmm.
not responsible for the outcome.
Hmm.
So if I can be in that space, then I don't get discouraged. And I also know statistically, it's going to take 9 to 10 of these appointments to generate a single client. So the
Yep.
question is, am I okay with being rejected 9 times in order to get one client? If the
Hmm.
answer is no, then that's the internal work I need to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, acceptance, right? Accepting
Acceptance.
what it is, yeah. And you've done what you could do, yeah. Irresistible offer, as you said, and that's max, yeah.
Yeah,
The outcomes are not in your control. What
that's
else?
right.
What else for coaches to build business?
So this is the beautiful thing. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. I mean it sincerely. Like I built a $1 million coaching business based on
Uh-huh.
these four key principles. Now,
Hmm.
what's interesting is I'm also a fifth degree black belt. And what
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you as a martial artist who's been working in martial arts for 30 years, the thing that's
Hmm.
important to know is every day I work on the basics. I
Hmm.
go into my studio and I work on my stances. Am I
Hmm.
standing the right way? Am I punching the right way? Am I kicking the right way? These are the basics.
Hmm.
But that's what makes me a master in karate. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's the same thing with your coaching business.
Hmm.
People think, well, okay, now that I got my niche and I got my irresistible offer and I'm generating and converting appointments, now what? Nothing. Literally nothing. And the reason I say that is because you say, well, what about my website? What about my social media? What about these things? Is it generating appointments? If it is, keep doing it. If it's not, either tweak it or let it go. And this is where it becomes really important for coaches to see the shoulds are what's destroying their ability to build their coaching business. I should
Hmm.
have a website. I should be more active on social media. I should be
Hmm.
out there X, Y, or Z. That's
Hmm.
the trick of many.
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
asking the coaches to let that go so they can focus on the essential few.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So these are the essential few, and by the way, I've met with a lot of successful people. They don't have a website, but they're busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. They're not even very active on their own social media, but you find them everywhere else.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's why, right? Because ultimately, if you're doing your life's work, your purpose,
Hmm.
how much time do you really have to mess around with all these ancillary things that are not your purpose?
Hmm.
And so it's okay if you're doing a little bit of it, that's no problem. But ultimately, if the thing you're doing isn't directly
Hmm.
generating growth in your
Hmm.
coaching business, I
Hmm.
ask you, why are you doing it?
Hmm.
And most
Hmm.
of the time, it's because they think they need to.
Hmm.
That the idea of going back full circle to the saboteurs, I am
Hmm.
judging myself. If I don't spend time on Instagram, I'm not alive. I'm
Hmm.
judging myself. If I'm not keeping up with the other person's website and have it look as good as theirs, I'm not as good as they are. All of that
Right.
is a lie. None
Yeah.
of it is true.
Yeah. Right. And the first question, I think, with my experience with coaches, the first question that you spoke about, who is my niche? I think people get stuck over there. I think it takes ages and days and months and years for them to really figure out who is their niche. Is there a formula you have for
I
people to
do.
figure out how do you get there?
So first of all, that's why I created AskBill.us, my artificial intelligence. So going full circle, this is a
Mm-hmm.
free platform that any coach can use to answer
Mm-hmm.
these questions. Because I agree with you, it can be very challenging. But here's the simple part, the formula you're asking for. Like, well, how do we find a niche?
Hmm.
The idea here from our niche perspective is that there's only so much we can do in our heads and in our hearts until
Hmm.
we actually use the market to help guide us in this process. But
Hmm.
generally speaking, it is what am I uniquely qualified? Who am I uniquely qualified to serve? And
Hmm.
so part of this is looking at what's brought me to today. So for
Hmm.
myself, like when I talk about working with coaches building their coaching businesses, it didn't start out that way. It didn't.
Hmm.
My
Hmm.
initial niche was executives because my I was looking at specifically. So my actual niche statement when I first started my coaching business was I help world changing exec. I'm sorry, I help world changing executives that are brave enough to build a future, right? And so this idea of brave enough to build the future
Hmm.
they want to see the world was what compelled me forward. And the
Hmm.
reason I was working with them is because I had built two marketing agencies. And so all of my clients from my marketing agencies were my best prospects. They were my
Hmm.
niche
Hmm.
until they weren't. And so the pivot for me became, oh God, if I help one executive, I'm helping their organizations. That's great. I love doing that. But if I help one coach, it's a one to many impact. I actually get to
Hmm.
create a impact in the world because on
Hmm.
average, every coach is going to work with about 100 clients or so. And so
Hmm.
if you think about working with 10,000 coaches to build their coaching businesses times 100, that's
Hmm.
the impact that I've been able to have so far. That's
Hmm.
what drives my purpose. So the
Hmm.
idea of niche here is we keep going back to who am I uniquely qualified to serve? And you're
Hmm.
right. The problem is people say, well, I could do this and I could do that. The problem with coaching is it's a
Hmm.
superpower.
Hmm.
We actually can legitimately help anyone. But if we try to help everyone, we will struggle and we will not be successful as a coach.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
it's
And
actually letting go.
so,
That's
yeah.
full circle.
Yeah. So essential few, as you said, right? Yeah. Yeah. And what do you think will an irresistible offer would have?
Yeah. So the irresistible offer has to be directly tied to your niche. So I'll give you an
Hmm.
example here. When I first started out working with coaches, I
Hmm.
made this was my irresistible offer. I
Hmm.
will double your coaching business in six
Hmm.
months or your
Hmm.
money back. And
Okay.
so the idea is if you're going to invest in me, you're going to be investing in our relationship. I'm not going to let you fail. As long as
Hmm.
you do the work, you'll get the outcome. And so, from that perspective, even if the coach didn't trust themselves, they
Hmm.
trusted the track record. And they could look at all the coaches I've already helped and say, great. And if I'm willing to give their money back in 6 months, what's the
Hmm.
risk?
Hmm.
Like, and I would go into this place of like, okay, if you go to the stock market and you invest $10,000 in the stock market
Hmm.
and it doesn't work out, no one's giving your money back. You've lost
Hmm.
$10,000. That's it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So most of what makes the offer irresistible is what are the risk removal strategies that I can offer? Now it doesn't
Hmm.
always have to give money back, but the idea is how am I removing or eliminating the risk? And so
Hmm.
if I'm looking at a health coach and saying,
Hmm.
look, if you do the work that we're here, you will have the outcome of losing the weight you want to lose or having the vitality that you want. As
Hmm.
long as you work, you'll get the outcome. And that's
Hmm.
what we're doing with the irresistible offer. So what the irresistible offer is it's a stated outcome that's concrete that you can accomplish in about 6 months. And
Hmm.
once we see that from that perspective, we can
Hmm.
start to say, what am I uniquely qualified to deliver? Now,
Hmm.
notice the niche and the offer are two sides of the same coin.
Hmm.
If I'm
Hmm.
clear on my who, my what becomes obvious.
Hmm.
If I'm
Hmm.
clear on my what, the who becomes obvious.
Right.
So the idea here is if I'm not clear on my who and I'm not clear on my what, I'm going to struggle, which is
Yeah.
why this is the essential few.
Yeah. And then I do not know where to go to generate even leads, and what do I do? Because
I don't know who I'm
yeah.
serving.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and if you say, hey, can you generate leads on social media? Of course.
Hmm.
Are my people, is
Hmm.
my niche on this platform?
Hmm.
If the answer is no, then I'm on the wrong platform.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Is my niche likely to listen to my irresistible offer on this platform? So I'll give
Hmm.
you an example. We talked about the 5 different ways to generate appointments. When
Hmm.
I'm doing speaking engagements, like what you and I are doing right now in this moment, this is
Hmm.
where people can know, like, and trust me.
Hmm.
One of
Right.
the reasons I love podcasts is for this exact reason: is that
Hmm.
who is Bill Carmody? Nobody knows who I am. Nobody.
Hmm.
I'm a nobody until they hear what I'm all about. And if someone listening right now knows my heart, they're
Hmm.
much more likely to reach out because they know who I am. I'm not
Hmm.
here trying to make another sale. That's not what I'm
Hmm.
about. If they think they're the wrong person, they're not who I'm supposed to be working with anyway. But if
Hmm.
someone says, oh, this person can really help me, we've already
Hmm.
established a rapport before we've even met, which is
Right.
why speaking engagements are a really powerful way to generate appointments because the
Hmm.
people who come to me after a speaking engagement like this are genuinely interested in
Hmm.
changing the trajectory of their coaching business. And now
Hmm.
they're ready to do the work. And I'm
Hmm.
ready to help them. So therefore, it's a great fit. As
Right.
opposed to, I do an email blast to a
Hmm.
million people that I don't know, and their random person called Bill Carmody is showing up in their inbox saying, I can help you double your coaching business. It sounds like bullshit, right? No one's going to listen to it.
Yeah.
So it has to come from a place of authenticity. And so for me, I've found my
Hmm.
writing, my
Hmm.
speaking, my networking, these are all powerful tools for me because you get to
Hmm.
actually see who I am and know,
Hmm.
am I a good fit or not, even before
Hmm.
we have our coaching call.
Hmm. And I think you also, so when you said writing, yeah, tell me a little bit about writing because you've written books. How would one get started? Because I meet with a lot of coaches who will tell me they would want to write, but they don't have time or they don't know how to and where to start from.
Yeah. Yeah. This is great. So I will tell you that writers write.
Hmm.
And so what it starts with is if you say you want something, prove
Hmm.
it to me by taking action. And so,
Hmm.
for example, when I wrote my first book, what I did was I made a promise and literal contract with myself. I
Hmm.
wrote up a one-page contract that said, come hell or high water, every morning from
Hmm.
6 a.m. until 7 a.m., no matter what, I'm going to write at least 1,000 words.
Hmm.
And I'm going to do that for 3 months. And you know what happens at 3 months? If you write 1,000 words a day for 3 months, you have a book in three
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that's beautiful is yes, there is technique. Yes, it's helpful to have an editor. Yes, it's
Hmm.
helpful to have a publisher. And all of those things can be easily discovered by doing
Hmm.
some research online. You know, I'm
Hmm.
happy to make introductions and recommendations, but the truth is, like, this stuff is there's plenty of self publishers and traditional publishers that would love to work with coaches that
Hmm.
already have a book written.
Hmm.
So the idea is don't worry about being published, worry about
Hmm.
writing your book. And if you
Hmm.
write 1,000 words every day for 3 months, you'll have a book. It
Yeah.
literally is that simple. So when I say what's the essential few versus the trivial many, the essential few of writing a book is to write.
Hmm.
Willing to write 1,000 words every day, you will have a book.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
not, you won't.
Mm. And where to start from? So let's say I'm committed. Where to start from? What was your first idea which got you thinking and which got you clearer? And this is my starting point.
Great. So
Mm.
again, back to niche and offer. If I'm clear
Yeah.
on my niche, clear on my offer. So my first book is called Online Promotions. The people I chose to serve was in the marketing agency world. And I saw the two types of people in 1994, right? In 1992 types of people. Those who understood the internet who did not understand promotional marketing, and those who understood promotional marketing but didn't understand the internet. Book was a crossing of the chasm book. It was written for both audiences. If you are an internet expert, let me tell you about what promotional marketing is and why it will help you grow your business. And the flip of that was if you are a promotional marketing expert, let me show you how the internet's going to help you scale. The book was hugely successful for those reasons. The second book that I wrote is called The Three Rules of Marriage. I wrote it on my 20th wedding anniversary. And I said, okay, I have this blissful marriage when 50% of all marriages end in divorce. I have something that most people don't have. I want to share that with the world. So my audience for that book was I'm looking for couples who are either newly married or struggling in their marriage who have the kind of blissful marriage that I have created with my wife. That's it. Clarity helped me focus, and everything I wrote in the three marriage were about how to make it simple to have a blissful marriage.
Hmm. Hmm.
My third book, called Sage Business Development, was all about coaches. The four things I just told you about the niche, the offer, generate, convert that's so the book is specifically about how to focus on the essential few versus the trivial many. Coaches. I have one audience, all business owners, it's coaches. 7 figure coaching business. This is the investment I'm asking them to make in order to build that kind of business in total sage ease and flow. They do that, what they'll find is, wow, this is a lot easier than I've always thought it was. And so therefore I can take small steps, just like writing a book, writing 1,000 words every day. It's like I can take small steps that will help me accomplish my outcome. That level of clarity, and you can let go of everything else, you will be successful.
Right. And goes back to consistency, right? Make a decision and have a contract with self and implement it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so the thing about building a coaching business, it's the same thing. Like you choose to sit down and focus on who is your niche, what's your irresistible offer, figure that out, and then start going out to the world and finding your people. And that enough times, you will have as big of a coaching business as you want. Everything else is a distraction. The idea of writing is just like, what is it? What is your level of expertise? So when you think about it as a coach, it's like if I'm clear on my niche, what do they need?
Hmm.
And so knowing what they need, that's what the book is.
Hmm.
And so you just don't have to write for the entire world. You don't have to worry about being a New York Times bestselling author. You can help you grow your coaching business with a single book, because
Hmm.
that book is the reference point that any of your niche can use to say, "Oh my God, this person is brilliant. They know exactly what I need and how to help me."
Hmm.
What better way
Hmm.
to generate appointments? It doesn't even matter if you sell a single copy. If that
Right.
book helps you generate appointments on your calendar and convert to actual paying clients, it was
Hmm.
worth it.
Hmm. It's primarily for also credibility and authority
Yes.
for you as a practitioner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing. What is the purpose of the book? If we
Hmm.
keep coming back to purpose, it'll guide us. If
Hmm.
what I'm looking for is authority, then yeah,
Hmm.
maybe I need to look into having a New York Times best-selling book or
Hmm.
a Amazon best-selling book. I can do those things. Like
Hmm.
there are people that'll help me with that. But if
Hmm.
what I want is to get more clients as part of my coaching business, I don't need
Hmm.
any of those things.
Hmm.
I still have the authenticity of being able to put my book in front of the people that are likely able to hire me. And if I just
Hmm.
did all that myself, what is
Hmm.
the cost of a book versus the value of a contract with a client? Like it's trivial.
Hmm.
So it becomes really
Hmm.
easy to understand, like, what is my true purpose? There's the ego
Hmm.
version, which is I want to be
Hmm.
famous, I want to be successful, I want to go things. And then there's the authentic sage version, which is I
Hmm.
want to help people and I want to be a servant leader. Going back to
Hmm.
be love and be a servant
Hmm.
leader. That's it.
Hmm.
Your book is another
Hmm.
manifestation of being love. Yeah,
Hmm. And also be do have, as you said, right?
exactly right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great. I think, Bill, this really has been an interesting conversation, and like we said earlier, that it's speaking engagement. People would like to get in touch with you after hearing you. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Number one, askbill.us. Go to the askbill.us. They'll be able to define their niche and create their irresistible offer all for free. So that's the first
Mm-hmm.
place. If they like that, they can continue on with billcarmody.com. That's my website. Just in last name, billcarmody.com. And there they can find, I'm actually be traveling the world for this next year. They can me on my journey. They can reach out. We can connect. We can have a conversation, all of that. And of course, LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm active on, that's my social media platform of choice. I love working with coaches there. I've got about 11,000 coaches that I work with on LinkedIn, so they can join that community as well.
Thank you. I'm sure people would love to take this conversation in one to one with you. Those who have really found it interesting. So thank you again, Bill, for
Yeah.
this show today, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Harris. I appreciate you having me on the show. Appreciate you.
Welcome. Welcome.